All right, guys, we're going to rock and roll here on the Monday edition of the I Love CVille show. We have a lot of news that we covered on the talk show that is now making its way into legacy media. We talked about the Razor Blade Ellis Board of Visitors brouhaha on the show. If you want to check Twitter, please, it's showing broadcast not available, Judah, so you're going to have to reconnect, please. I'm getting notifications from people over there. Thank you. We talked about the box truck driving around grounds. It made its way into the newspaper yesterday. This question was asked by the paper, which we asked, which I think is worth following up on. Should the University of Virginia be investigating the people behind the box truck? I think, frankly, that's a waste of time and money. Because, as Koch just said in the newspaper, there's no crime here. This is free speech. Yet the university is committed to figuring out who is behind this attack on Rector Robert Hardy. I want to talk about that briefly today. Interestingly, the eclipse has canceled some schools today, which I found odd. We want to give props to the 51st year of the Charlottesville City Market, which just started this past Saturday. Got inspiration for topic number 4 from Deep Throat on headwinds in restaurants. I want to take the inspiration from Deep Throat and talk about which restaurants are managing those headwinds well. We'll talk about that today. The Richmond casino dream appears to be over. The opportunity, I think, for a new casino and the economic stimulus and activity that comes with it has been murdered and shattered by the governor, Glenn Youngkin. We'll talk about that on today's program. We mentioned, about a week ago, Judah, 2 weeks ago, that Sugar Bear Ice Cream was opening on High Street in the old Double Horseshoe Saloon spot. That officially made its way into legacy media. I want to ask this question. Why are sweet treat businesses opening, I don't want to say prolifically, but we see a donut place on Maury Avenue, right? We see Chaps Ice Cream opening a second location on the UVA corner, and now an ice cream parlor opening on High Street. Is it coincidental that these type of sweets and treats businesses have made announcements over the last 2 weeks, Judah? Or is it more to the story in that these businesses could be best set up to manage today's economic climate and some of the tailwinds and headwinds that come with said climate? I want to talk about that today. And Virginia basketball has its first transfer, and Leon Bond, who seemed to be Leon Bond and Dante Harris. Maybe you make the case for Andrew Rohde, the most logical ones to transfer from this program. A lot we're going to cover on the program. Give the show a like and a share. Like the show, share the show. If you're watching on Twitter, retweet the show. Spread the gospel. We work hard for you. The only thing we ask in return is a like and a share. Judah Wickhauer's in the shotgun seat, key contributor to this team. We can rock and roll, Judah, when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Good Monday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. It's great to connect with you through the I Love CVille network, which airs across all social media channels and podcasting platforms. This concept that we've created is a nimble and pivotable and adaptable product. We relay content and media and news and commentary and opinion to you through digital and social platforms and channels. And because we don't have a physical print product, because we don't have massive overhead, because we're not confined to significant payroll and the fat and bloat and weight that comes with it, we are able to quickly adjust and kind of be the David to a lot of media Goliaths out there. And I think what we're doing is, in a lot of ways, the future of news. I'm excited to see what Joe Thomas does as he embarks on this media journey. We had a 2-hour podcast with him on Friday, the award-winning radio broadcaster. I thought that show went extremely well. I got a lot of positive feedback on the Joe Thomas show. What I learned, or what I have learned in, how long have I been working in media? The first job I had in media was summer before my 3rd year at the University of Virginia. So that was 2001. I've been working in media for 22 years. I started as a stringer under Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe in the sports department at the Daily Progress. I remember that first year and change while I was working at the newspaper. They had someone that was literally with an X-Acto knife cutting out like what the headlines would look like in the paper the next day. The paper was printed on Rio Road. We had a police beat writer listening to a police scanner, and when a certain crime hit the scanner, he would sprint out of the newsroom. He would grab his jacket. His name was Reed Williams, ended up parlaying the job at the Daily Progress to a police reporter job at the Richmond Times-Dispatch. He'd sprint out of the Rio Road newsroom, get in his car with the scanner in his hand, run by my desk. I was 20 years old at the time, and I was intrigued. I was excited for the business. That newsroom, even at a level as small as the newspaper at the Daily Progress, was buzzing with activity. Bob Gibson was the courts reporter. And Mr. Gibson was an award-winning journalist that covered state senate, covered the General Assembly, covered Richmond inside and out. We had a UVA reporter. We had an education reporter, a business reporter, lifestyles reporter, a columnist named David Maurer, who was fantastic, a columnist named Brian McKenzie, who now works for the University of Virginia in PR, a sports columnist named Jerry Ratcliffe. We had a UVA basketball writer, beat writer, a football beat writer. We had a spring sports beat writer, high school sports beat writers. We had city editors and news editors and copy editors, and we had sales executives and advertising executives and managing editors and publishers and human resources and accounts, receivables and payables, and a secretary and photographers and multiple photographers in a photography studio, literally printing or bringing their photography artwork to life on site. It was just a 20-year-old's opportunity to learn and fall in love with media and see it from the inside out. And because the newspaper was a small-time, small market newspaper, you were able to do a lot of things of merit that had responsibility to them. Like as a 20-year-old, after a few months on the job, I was entrusted with taking the newspapers off the printing press. And as those first few copies came off the printing press, as the guys in the back that were running the press, that were 50 and 60-year-olds, men in a union that were working jobs that they had done straight out of high school. I'm talking decades on the jobs. The most tenured employees at the newspaper when I started were the men working the printing press on Rio Road at the newspaper. And a few months into the gig, part of my job, no one wanted the job because it had the crappiest hours. So of course the newest guys got this job, was to get the papers as they came off the press. And these papers were still warm and hot from running through the press. When you grab the first copy, I was grabbing the first copy when the newspaper was legitimately printing 35 to 40,000 papers, individual newspapers. I would grab the first one off the press. That was my job. And as we grabbed it off the press, I felt the warmth from the newspaper running through the machines. And then I would grab it from the press. The ink was still wet. Like you would grab it and it would smear on the paper and smear on your hands. And your job was to quickly but efficiently read the headlines first and make sure there were no glaring errors on headlines on A1 first, then each individual section, sports, lifestyle, commentary. After you finished reading all the headlines, because that was where the glaring mistakes were first noticed, then you had to read the subdecks or the sub-headlines, the headlines below the big ones. That was the second job that you had to read very quickly. From there, you then went to any cut lines. A cut line is below a photo. Those were seen a lot by readers. You had to proof the cut lines. After you proofed the cut lines, then you started going into the bodies of the story and quickly looking for errors that jump out to you. If you found mistakes in bodies of the stories that were not super glaring, the presses were not stopped. But if you found a mistake in a headline, you as a 20-year-old would scream with a bunch of men in their 50s and 60s. I would say there were anywhere from 6 to 10 guys working the printing press in their 50s to 60s on Rio Road per shift. These guys work there till probably 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning as the papers were coming off the press. So when a 20-year-old found an error in one of the headlines, he would scream at the top of his lungs, "Stop the presses!" And I remember doing that probably, 4 or 5 times within my first year on the job. You scream, "Stop the presses," when you saw a mistake in the headline or a mistake in one of the subdecks. It was up to you whether you wanted to scream, "Stop the presses," for a mistake in one of the cut lines below the photos. I did not do that then, because the guys working the press would look at you, they'd glare at you, they'd be so pissed off because the paper would have to be stopped, the presses would have to be stopped, someone would then have to go to one of the news editors, one of the copy desk computers, fix that mistake. Once that mistake was fixed, then the paper sent back digitally to the press. This was in 2002, man. This was an incredibly archaic system. And then when it got back to the press, they would print it again. This took 15, 20 minutes, maybe longer. So it delayed these union guys from getting home to their wives, and it took a shift of workers 30 minutes and put them behind schedule. A shift of workers that when they left the newspaper were so jacked and wired with adrenaline, they would often go to a select couple of spots in town that would serve beers to night shift workers. The night shift worker, their happy hour, oftentimes 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, where they're drinking Bud Heavies and smoking jacks, smoking cigarettes, and just shooting the you-know-what about how the day went. So probably in my first year on the job, 6 times roughly I screamed, "Stop the presses!" and felt the glare of these men, highest paid guys at the paper, mind you, very skilled profession, stare at me, and we'd fix whatever issue we found. It was in this time of my life, from 20 to say 25, 26, I launched my company 16 years ago in May. At the end of May, I've been self-employed for 16 years. That's bananas. That I fell in love with media. I fell in love with media because of the fast-paced environment. I fell in love with media because I loved to tell folks the stories of the community, human interest, breaking news, sports, profiles, commentary. I was good at it. I was so good at it. I was good with writing. I was good with speaking. I was good with communicating. That gave me confidence to push even further. And a part-time newspaper job turned into a full-time staff writer job, and a full-time staff writer job turned into one of the youngest editors in the newspaper's history, and that turned into a radio job on Sports Radio 1400 WKAV, a talk show host job where I played number 2 for a guy that I quickly realized I was better at in talk radio. I took that job over from him eventually, made it my own show on a Saturday morning called Sports Wrap, and then Sports Wrap ended up being 5 days a week during drive time on 1400 WKAV. That turned into a syndicated radio job with the Jerry Miller Show on a handful of ESPN affiliates that penetrated North Carolina, went across the Commonwealth, into D.C., into Tennessee. That was 6-7 days a week, depending on football or basketball season or spring sports season. And then that led into TV work, where at the peak we were doing 2 television shows. One on Saturday mornings, Varsity Lights with Jerry Miller. Saturday mornings was the Jerry Miller Show. Sunday morning was Varsity Lights with Jerry Miller Show on NBC 29. So at the peak, before launching this business in 2008? May 2008? That's so crazy. We had 2 TV shows that bared our name, 6 days a week of syndicated radio on anywhere from 5 to 8 ESPN affiliates, newspaper writing, and digital website writing on a website portal that we own. And it was this period of life that I fell in love with media. And what I'm realizing with today in 2024, as we find ourselves in this media desert that we call Charlottesville and Central Virginia, that are truly captivating and holding the market's attention, media-wise, are the smallest players from a person count standpoint, from an overhead payroll standpoint, from the market's attention, media-wise, are the smallest players from a person count standpoint, from an overhead payroll standpoint, from a management standpoint. And I'll rattle them off. Sean Tubbs is doing amazing work with his community Substack. Town Crier Productions, Judah, Charlottesville Community Substack. I think Neil Williamson is doing some fantastic media. He would probably call himself more of a advocate. What's it called? Someone who's to DC, a lobbyist. You would call Neil Williamson a lobbyist, an advocate. But he's utilizing lobbying efforts. Socialist Dog Mom, Molly Cogner on Twitter, with her live tweeting and documentation of community events like city council meetings, she's driving the needle when it comes to media. Whether you like her perspective or not, Socialist Dog Mom is driving the needle. What we're doing, driving the needle, we often are talking about stuff on this show that routinely finds itself days later or a week later into the legacy media cycle. We're seeing that in multiple stories today. We told you about, and is connection okay, Judah? Everything's good with the connection? You're seeing the live stream looking good?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, sir. We're seeing that with this Sugar Bear story on High Street. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. It's in the newspaper today. The Chaps ice cream story opening on the UVA corner, second location, in the newspaper today. We talked about that, a week ago or so?
Yeah.
Robert Hardy and the box truck driving around grounds in the Sunday edition of the paper. 3 of their stories in the Sunday edition, which is their most expensive edition, right?
They're doing a Sunday still?
Is there no Sunday anymore? Is it just Tuesday and Thursday?
I thought you said there was no Sunday last week.
I don't even know. Might just be Tuesday, Thursday. Maybe there's a Sunday. Who knows? But here's the point. Sean Tubbs is a one-man band. Molly Cogner is a one-man band. One-person band. Neil Williamson is a one-person band. What we're doing with this network is two of us from the team on the network. Maybe 2.5, you can say, on the network. What the newspaper, NBC 29 and CBS 19 are doing, Charlottesville Tomorrow including those 4 platforms, newspaper, CVille Tomorrow, NBC 29, CBS 19, they have significantly more personnel, significantly more overhead. But that overhead and personnel perhaps are becoming...
It's just getting in their way.
Yeah. It's the David and Goliath. Where it's creating like channels of like approval or accountability that's either slowing it down or someone from the top of the pecking order is saying we need to replace these expensive guys on the totem pole with younger guys on the totem pole, and they don't have the institutional memory to tell the stories like they should.
There could be some amount of back and forth and, what do you want to report on? Oh, we don't want to hear about that. What do you want to report on? Oh, we don't want to hear about that. I could see wasting a lot of time with a reporter trying to figure out what to bring to a managing editor every day and getting shot down and having to go out and find
I would bet
anything.
In today's media climate, the David Foulke of CBS 19, he's the news director. Reynolds Hutchison, I believe his name, is the editor at the Daily Progress. I would bet a lot of these guys aren't shooting down a lot of what their reporters bring to them because those particular positions are so overworked and they know they need content out there. There was at a time when I was working at the newspaper, whether it was with Jerry Ratcliffe or McGregor McCants. McGregor McCants works in PR right now for the University of Virginia. That you would have stories shot down. You'd be like, no, we're not going to cover that. Instead, cover this. I would bet now that's not happening as much because any content in their eyes is perceived to be good content. Take today's news cycle, okay? I would thought this would be the follow story. If I was running, say, the newsroom, the story was not necessarily Chaps Ice Cream is opening a second location on the UVA corner, and Sugar Bear is opening on High Street. We've already reported that. We talked about that on the I Live Seville show, and both of the brands published this content on their social media channels. So the community already knows. Here's what I think the story should have been. Why are we seeing in a couple of week period of time Chaps choosing to open a second location, a donut shop opening on Maury Avenue in the old Anna's Pizza location, something we covered in November of last year, and Sugar Bear opening on High Street? I would think the story would be, is there in market advantage to opening a sweets or treats business and what is otherwise seen as a difficult time to run food and beverage storefronts, food and beverage businesses? And I'm going to make an argument on today's show that a ice cream shop, second location, Chaps, UVA corner, ice cream parlor, Sugar Bear on High Street in the old Double Horseshoe Saloon, and this donut shop, which you're going to help me with the pronunciation of the New Jersey-style donut shop, the team behind Marie Bett opening this spot in Maury Avenue. You give me the name of that, okay? So we can give her some props. I'm going to make a legitimate argument that these types of businesses are fantastically suited for today's climate. They don't require a lot of front of the house staff. I mean, could you run the Chaps on the UVA corner with one employee?
I don't know the size, but I know they run the one on the downtown mall with one person, though I don't know that they do that all day long.
Are these types of businesses, these sweets and treats businesses, the proverbial vape shop of food and beverage? We ask the question all the time, or people ask this question all the time of us on this show. Why are so many vape shops opening around town? There's so many vape shops opening around town because they're selling an addictive product, one, a product that can be sold by one employee. One employee can command or man the Carytown Pipe and Tobacco, or whatever the store, Carytown Tobacco, right?
Yeah.
One employee can do it. For the most part, the product does not go bad. Now, the donuts can go bad, but I would imagine if they limit the inventory, you're not going to have much inventory going unsold.
Well, donuts is the type of thing that's made every day. I think with the exception of a unique store like Kilwins, most candy stores aren't, they're not probably not creating their own fudge. They're not creating their own peanut brittle, whatever we see being created right there in the shop window at Kilwins. I would think that most candy stores aren't doing that on a regular basis. So they're almost the same thing. I would say that ice cream is somewhat different, but just boxes of candy that you can pour out of a wall container. That kind of stuff is somewhat similar to vapes.
Well, which places are selling candy though? You're confusing me here. You're talking about toppings here? I'm talking about Chaps, second location, that's ice cream. Sugar Bear is ice cream, and the spot on Maury Avenue is donuts.
You're asking why sweet stores are opening up.
I'm saying these three locations are opening in a short period of time: a donut shop, an ice cream shop, and an ice cream shop. And I'm saying this: these three businesses, maybe there's candy as toppings, I don't know, but these three businesses are best set up in today's economic climate and the headwinds associated with food and beverage because of the same reason that vape shops are popping up everywhere. You need one, maybe two team members to run them. The product they sell, in particular with the ice cream, can withstand time. If donuts are managed correctly, you're not going to have a lot of leftover waste. It costs very little to make the donut to begin with. This requires no front of the house staff, no sit down staff no staff to manage sit down customers. You're grabbing and you're leaving. This is the 2024 version of vape shop and food and beverage. Think about in a 2-week period of time in Charlottesville city limits, you've had 3 businesses open that are essentially in the same category, sweets or treats. Can you tell me, or viewers and listeners, can you tell me 3 new restaurants that have announced their opening in the last month, 2 months in the city of Charlottesville? A genuine question. Viewers and listeners, give me 3 restaurants that have announced their opening in the city of Charlottesville in 2024 in a brick and mortar location. In 2 weeks, we've had 3 that fall in the sweets or treats category.
Although you mentioned that one of them's been in the works since last November.
We broke that news in November on Maury Avenue on the I Love Steveville show. I guess my point is this. The entrepreneurs behind the Chaps ice cream concept is owned by a Darden professor. A lot of people don't realize that. A Darden professor now owns Chaps ice cream. She's the second generation of Chaps. Tony was the first generation friend of this program. Yeah. Chaps, their concept is to franchise this idea. A lot of people don't realize that either. The first location, Downtown Mall, started by Tony. He owns the real estate, the building on the mall that Chaps is located in. The UVA Darden professor is paying Tony rent. The second location, they went to UVA, to the UVA corner. They took over the Arches frozen yogurt spot. They're paying rent over there. This is their proof of performance. The first location is not their proof of performance because this was done by an owner, founder, operator. The second location is kind of proof of performance. But the true third location, the true opportunity to see if this is franchisable is location 3 and location 4, where ownership does not have hands-on with this brand. Still, ownership controls location 2. Sugar Bear went for a wholesale. You'd find Sugar Bear in Tiger Fuel and the markets at Tiger Fuel. We learned from Deep Throat, they sell it in Foods of All Nations. I believe it's in Marie Bet. Sugar Bear ice cream. They did wholesale. The donut concept, did you find us the donut name?
Yep. Let's see. It is Spracos.
Thank you. The donut concept started at Marie Bet, right? Where you got some donuts from time to time there. I think no doubt they're going to crush it. I ask you, the viewer and listener, to give me 3 restaurants that have opened in the city of Charlottesville in 2024. I don't think there have been 3 announced that are new in 2024 that are taking brick and mortar storefront. I'm not talking food truck here. You may be able to do the Gomez family with Desayuno de Gomez on Pantops, the breakfast eatery, but they're piggybacking on their food truck. I'll still count that as 1. Is that even city of Charlottesville at that point? Across from their food truck? Or is that Albemarle County? That's right on the line. Let's chalk that up to city of Charlottesville. Before we get off this topic, my point is this. In media, what you're seeing from Tubbs and Williamson and from Judah and I, from Molly Cogner, Socialist Dog Mom, you're seeing small teams, nimble, adapt, pivot, innovate quickly. No overhead, no red tape, no bureaucracy. We adapt to what's in front of us and we make moves and we get followership, viewership, and listenership. That same concept of being nimble and adapting and quickly adjusting is what we're seeing with these 3 businesses that have opened recently. We're seeing a radically changing market in 2024, a quickly changing economy in 2024. And whether people want to admit this or not, the economy may be strong out there, and the economy may be strong to the point where Jay Powell goes from a potential 6 rate cuts to 3 rate cuts to one of the lower Fed chairs said on Friday, she said, we may not even have any rate cuts at all this year. In fact, we may have a rate increase because the economy is still running too hot. The jobs report, CPI, you point to all these metrics, and whatever metric you point to, you see that the economy is running strong. That may be the case at the macro level or at the Wall Street level. That may be the case with stocks and equities. That may be a case with a lot of data when you're looking aerial view on the country. But from a little guy standpoint and a Market Street standpoint and a Main Street standpoint and a West Main Street standpoint, a Preston Avenue, a High Street, a Maury Avenue standpoint, the economy's tough. You ask any small business owner right now, and they'll tell you the economy's tough. They'll point to labor, escalating costs or lack thereof of it. Mm-hmm. They'll point to interest rates on any debt they have or they incurred. They'll point to small business loans taken during COVID and the fact that those payments are starting to come due now or are due now. They'll point to heavy rates when it comes to credit card debt. They'll point to fuel costs causing their suppliers to raise their cost of goods. They'll point to the escalating nature of rents and how it's not being managed, or it's not coming down, or it's escalating too quickly for their business models to adjust to. Main Street, Market Street, Preston Avenue, High Street, Route 29, UVA Corner, Ellwood, it's tough out there. And the ones that are having success, or the ones that I think are trying to position themselves for success, are doing it in a way where they've stripped the labor component out of their equation. Put these lower thirds on screen here, J-Dubs. Restaurants, we have a lower third on there about restaurants that are doing the headwinds, managing headwinds correctly. And if you want to keep in on one shot, let me know when you want to jump in on some commentary here. We can weave you in on it too. What restaurants, and maybe I weave you in on it too, what restaurants are managing headwinds correctly right now, do you think? Ones that you've seen. I can rattle off a few. You go ahead.
Let's see. I think that the ones that I've seen are, I think ones that have figured out the best times to stay open. I've seen a lot of them that have cut their hours, and I think that's oftentimes like
Which one specifically?
specifically the Nook. They used to be open in the evening. I remember the last time I mean, it's been quite a while since I've even tried to go to the Nook, because the last time that I thought that I wanted to get some dinner there, I realized that when I got there that they're no longer open in the evenings. They're only staying open till 3.
Would you say that's managing headwinds well, cutting out dinner service?
I wouldn't say that, no.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking for. Restaurants that are managing headwinds well.
Yeah.
So the Nook is not, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay, so we're looking for ones that are managing headwinds well.
Yeah, and I was explaining that the ones that are managing it well have managed to get by without completely cutting like one of their big sections of.
Okay, so
of
which ones are
being
doing
open.
this well?
Let me think about that.
Okay, I'll jump in. I think Moe's on Ivy Road is managing this well.
Okay.
I think Ivy Provisions on Ivy Road is managing this well.
Okay.
I think restaurants that are not heavy on front of the house staff, that have a pickup window, are adjusting today's climate. Those are 2 really good examples of ones that are managing well. They have not cut hours. They have continued to provide a quality, consistent product, and they've done it without sticker shock to their customers.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are doing extremely well. I think we have a climate here in this community where we're saturated in the category. We have more competition than ever. At the same time that labor is few and far between and asking for more money than ever. Cost of goods are through the roof, fuel prices are through the roof, and all this debt service accrued during COVID is coming due with monthly payments. This is a great comment, and she needs to be added to the list. I agree with Maria Marshall Barnes. Is Maria Marshall Barnes on the power ranking?
Yeah.
She is? Fantastic. Maria Marshall Barnes, I agree with what you said, that Fabio's has managed the headwinds well. Fabio's put up a to-go window makeshift during COVID that withstood the pandemic on High Street. High Street's getting a lot of props on today's show. It was the Bodo's drive-through window when Bodo's had a to-go on Preston Avenue that caused the line down the street. Fabio's did something similar, and it's still active. Fabio's 100% has managed the headwinds well. Very good comment. Maria Marshall Barnes is what in the family? She is number 33 in the family. Let's slide Miss Barnes up some slots to 28 in the poll. If you can make that adjustment. Maria Marshall Barnes goes up spots with that comment. I think we got someone who's not in the poll. Kyle Irvin, I'll get to your comments in a matter of moments here. Love when Kyle Irvin watches the program. Jennifer Nunley Hucks. Is she in the power poll?
No.
Jennifer Nunley Hucks needs to be added to the power poll, please. Jennifer Nunley Hucks, I appreciate you watching the program. You're checking it at number 58 in the power poll. iloveseville.com/viewer rankings. Jennifer Nunley, Nunnally, Hucks, Hux. She says sweet treat type places are possibly opening more frequently due to the current economy, and a sweet treat is more affordable than going out for a family meal. I would say many middle to upper income families feel the pinch of taking their family to dinner these days and have cut back on doing so. 100%.
Yep.
Great comment. You're still getting the dine out experience without the sticker shock of $100 to $130. My wife went to a bachelorette party in Charleston, so her brother's getting married. I went to the bachelor party in Charleston a couple weekends ago with him, and she went this past weekend with her soon-to-be sister-in-law. So my in-laws came down. They stayed with us. My in-laws took me, our 2 boys out. One of them is 16 months, so he's not ordering any food. And they joined us as well, so it was 3 adults and 1 kid to the Lazy Parrot on Pantops. I had 2 beers. My mother-in-law had 2 Chardonnays. My father-in-law had 2 margaritas. We got kids' corn dog bites, fried mac and cheese, nachos, and fried pickles. And the bill was about $105, $110. And we all were very surprised with the price, positively surprised. Lazy Parrot, Kevin Kirby, Cassie Kirby, Lazy Parrot on Pantops, they have figured out that if you sell good food and good booze at fair prices, you're going to be busy. And they also have done a great job of creating a sports bar environment and a family bar, family tap room, family, I don't know how you would call it, family restaurant environment. That place crushes it. But when there's 3 adults and 1 kid celebrating a $110 bill and no one got any entrees, that shows you how expensive it is to eat out right now. Mm-hmm. And I agree with what Jennifer Nunley Huck said. The sweet treat places are opening because people still want to get the experience of going out of their house, but maybe they're doing it at a price tag that's lower.
Yeah.
They're also selling an addiction, sugar, much like coffee, much like the vapes. And they're doing it in a way that doesn't require a lot of labor. Yeah, and she also says, man, Janice Boyce Trevelyan is watching the program. Can we get her photos on screen? Janice Boyce Trevelyan is number 20 in the family. She says Lampo at their Ix location has figured it out as a suggestion. You went for a sit-down restaurant that opened a to-go spot in Ix Park to sell pizzas. That's a great call. Lampo is doing a hell of a job over there. Bill McChesney says that's the city. When you cross the river, you're in the county. Thank you, Bill McChesney, for Gomez. Is it Gomez Desayuno? Yeah. Is that what it is?
Desayuno Gomez.
Desayuno de Gomez. Georgia Gilmer says Sugar Bear is at Rio Hill Wine and Beer, if you want to get these photos on screen. And Neil Williamson's photo, if we can get him on screen. He's number 819 in the family. He says, for what it's worth, the Daily Progress prints Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Digital editions on the other days. Thank you, Neil Williamson. So that Sunday edition doesn't carry the same weight anymore as it once did. If it's printing Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, the Sunday paper was the paper with all the fill-ins and all the inserts and all the coupons. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Neil. My point is this. I thought the story was why are, in a 2-week period of time, when we cannot come up with 3 restaurants that have opened in 2024 in the city of Charlottesville, in a 2-week period of time, we've had 3 businesses tied to sweets or treats announce their opening in brick or mortar locations. Mm-hmm. That's the story. Why are these types of businesses opening when food and beverage across the board is not opening? That's the story. It's not a regurgitation of what was on the I Love Seville show the week before or what was on their Instagram channel a handful of days before. A couple other topics we'll get to here. Remember, we got that 145 call, J-Dubs. John Blair, we'll get to his comments. Get his photo on screen, number 2 in the family. The other advantage that ice cream has, John Blair says, and most sweet treats, is that most people don't or can't make it at home. Bingo. He says, I cook a lot, and my wife and I only go out to eat once a week, but we're suckers for ice cream and sweet treats. Same. I went to Dairy Market. When's the last time you guys have been to Dairy Market on Preston Avenue? When's the last time you've been to Dairy Market, Judah?
Probably, I don't know, a month or so ago.
I went to Dairy Market yesterday with my in-laws and our 2 boys. When you walk into the primary doors of Dairy Market, the main entrance, that retail outlet that's to the left across from the clothing store announced that it's going out of business and closing. When we were at Dairy Market, we sat at Star Hill. My father-in-law got a beer. Then we waited for my mother-in-law to come. Once she arrived, we wanted to get her Chardonnay because she liked Chardonnay. Star Hill Brewery does not sell it. So we had to go to Milkman's Bar. Milkman's Bar was not open. And it was 3:34 on a Sunday. The key for the market to work is for all the stalls to be open at the same time. But you go through there now, and that is not the case. Sporadic hours for the stalls. I love Dairy Market. I love bringing my kids there. Chris Henry knows I love Dairy Market. The team that manages Dairy Market needs to hear this. If the stalls are not open all at the same time, the market concept loses its pizzazz. The retail outlet that's closing is Bridget and Bess. To the left, they're doing a 50% off sale. That is one of their end caps, one of their marquee locations. Star Hill 1, South and Central 2, and then the 2 retail stores when you walk into Dairy Market. One of them's closing, 50% off sale going on right now. Bill McChesney has a joke. So if you open a vape and coffee shop with ice cream and donuts, you would kill it. The mayor of McIntyre watching the program. All right, one shot me, and we'll get to some of the news of the day. Kyle Irvin, let's get his photo on screen. In fact, Kyle needs to be on the power rankings. iloveseville.com/viewer rankings. Let's put Mr. Irvin in at the 59 spot, please. Kyle Irvin's a good guy, great communications director. If you don't humidify your cigars properly, they'll go bad. I occasionally get some from Carytown that unravel, but I'll say that most of the customers buy vapes. They usually have one person running the store. Once they start selling coffee and pastries, I'd say they don't necessarily need servers, but they'll need 2 behind the counter. There used to be a cigar shop on 4th Street, right around the corner from our shop. After closing a deal, I'd celebrate from time to time from going into that cigar shop by purchasing an Alec Bradley, which is a type of cigar maker. And my favorite blend was the Family Blend. Alec Bradley Family Blend. And you could bring in some beer, or you could bring in a little bourbon, or your spirit of choice, your drink of choice, and sit in the couches in that cigar shop and shoot the proverbial you-know-what with others in the shop that were smoking cigars or having a little sip of something nice. And you had this fantastic sense of community. And while that cigar was lit and you were smoking it for about an hour, 90 minutes, while having a little brown juice or a couple of beers, talking with complete strangers, you bonded over the stick that you were smoking, the drink that was in your hand, and the fellowship that took place in the cigar shop. I miss that shop on 4th Street. I still think they have a 29 location, but their downtown location was cannibalized and crushed by out-of-market player Carytown Pipe and Tobacco. All right, headlines I want to cover on today's show. You know the Eclipse is closing or has closed some public schools today?
That's cool.
Is that cool?
Is it not cool?
What do you do if you have to work and you have kids?
I mean, that's not going to be that's not going to be a surprise for people that they occasionally have to figure out what to do with their kids when they're at work. I mean, that's like, it happens every year.
I mean, that's easy to say when you don't have kids.
Yeah.
Which a lot of parents are scratching their head right now saying, why is school closed for the Eclipse? A lot of parents. A couple of facts about...
It's a good question. I'm not saying that it's a great thing that they're letting kids off for this, but I don't know. I think I'd like to see that kids are learning about this rather than just be sending home.
100%. There it is.
I'd like to see...
You just answered it. This Eclipse This is incredible. I'll throw this to you. It's an amazing phenomenon, I've been told, and I read. It will not occur again in the contiguous United States until 2045.
Yeah, I think
When children who are in the pre-K will be 25 years old. We're losing an opportunity to teach our children because of fear or because of...
It happens
laziness,
I believe it
but-
happens every 18 months. So it's not a rare occurrence. It's just that we rarely see it going all the way across
Yeah, this one
the
is...
United States the way it's doing this year.
This doesn't happen every 18 months,
There-
what we're seeing today.
The fact that I mentioned this to you earlier, I believe there are more people. I think I saw some crazy number like there are more people traveling to find a good place to see the total eclipse this year than have traveled to the last 5 or 6 Super Bowls. I mean, this is like a multi-billion-dollar industry selling glasses.
I believe you on that. Cite your
selling-
source for the viewers and listeners. I believe you on
I
that.
don't have a source.
Trust but verify.
I mean, I could go look it up, but anybody can Google total eclipse stats.
Total
and
eclipse from the heart?
That works too.
Travis Hackworth watching in southwestern Virginia. Schools closed to avoid liability of any kids staring at the window at the eclipse. Deep Throat says this. Are the schools closing because they don't want responsibility for stopping the young, wild, and heedless from looking at the sky without eye protection? He also said St. Anne's Belfield is having a watch party, but they got eye protection for everybody and one teacher for like 10 to 15 kids. And the kids are probably less bananas than some. I find it to be a missed opportunity. A missed opportunity for the schools that closed. For children to experience a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that was not tied to an iPhone or an iPad or a computer screen. This was an opportunity for us to say, everyone put your phones down or your iPads down or your laptops down and be in the moment. And something that happens that is not going to happen again until 2045 in the contiguous United States, when pre-K kids are 25 years old, would be an incentive or a motivation for kids to put their screens down.
Well, what if it happened that the reason why the schools are closing down for the day is because there are so many kids missing whose families decided to take them out and take them traveling to find a good spot to see this?
I love
that-
you, Judah, but that is not real life for parents. I respect the comment. I'm not knocking the comment at all.
So you're saying there aren't a lot
Parents
of people
parents aren't taking vacation time from their jobs to take their kids out of school, especially coming off of spring break, where all the public schools in this area just got off spring break. Many of the private schools did as well. One of the reasons we had our oldest son in the studio last week, he was on spring break. Parents don't want to say, I just had my kids out of school for a week. Let's give them another day off after losing our minds for a week with our kids, and we love them dearly. And then we're going to take a paid day off from work.
I guess people aren't traveling to see it.
I think the folks that are probably traveling are folks that are not tied to school-age children.
Okay.
But, you know, perhaps that is the case. I'm not trying to knock that comment by any means. I just don't see parents taking vacation days to take their kids out of school to travel. I think what's happening is what Travis is saying, that the schools just don't want the liability. We're in such a litigious society now that schools are so fearful, public schools in particular are so fearful of litigation and litigious behavior than they are of just common sense. Anything you want to add on that? Give us some more of the facts that you had on the... Bill McChesney says he agrees with Deep Throat. Neil Williams says, there are 2 and 5 solar eclipses every year. However, Each is only visible in a limited area. President of the Free Enterprise Forum, Neil Williamson. Janice Boyce Trevelyan says, my daughter in Maryland, her class has glasses and are going outside with the whole school. Our oldest son, the school is providing him glasses.
Nice.
To enjoy. Kyle Irvin says, with such a prolific event, it's so hard to think that this commands the same observance as a national holiday. The liability issue for schools is understandable. I would smoke a stogie with you anytime, Kyle Urban. Sincerely mean that. Next headline, Judah Wickar. If you can read it on screen, that would be amazing. 1:45 conference call with one of, what did we call perhaps this region, so we don't have to say his name, a 1:45 conference call with the person we said was the largest star from this area?
Literally?
Isn't that what we called him, number one?
I don't know if those were the exact words, but he is a large
Biggest
guy.
celebrity. Biggest celebrity at 145. Headline number 2. Next headline, if you could, my friend.
Oh, let's see. Is this the... Where are we going? To the end of the list?
Oh, from
Yeah.
the top down.
Okay. Seville will see up to 86% of the eclipse.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah. We're not directly in the path. But if we don't get too much of an overcast sky around, I believe it's 3:30-ish that it's going to be best seen in our area, we should have a pretty good view.
You got glasses?
No, I don't. I mean, there were people at church saying that they'd already been calling, like, everywhere they could figure and not being able to find any. So I think...
Isn't it bananas that people cannot find glasses for this thing?
it's big business. Like I said,
Well,
billions.
if it was big business, you wouldn't run out of glasses. It is big business. 100% it is big business. I agree 1,000% that it's big business. You made fantastic points on the economic impact of this eclipse.
Considering the fact that we may not see one again in our area
Until 2045 of this magnitude.
So tell me again why you would produce extra glasses when you have no idea how many you're going to sell. There's no proof of performance for selling these glasses in the United States, is there?
For the same reason you don't go to Bodo's and they say there's no bagels.
That's a horrible
No, it's not.
analogy.
It's called just basic business. For the same reason when you don't go to Papa John's and they say there's no dough for pizza. Bodo's, you know what they do when the bagels are done? They donate them or they throw them away. The people that make the Eclipse sunglasses, you know what they can do? Donate them, throw them away, or save them for the next one at the next area and sell them online.
Great ideas.
I mean, having no glasses to purchase just befuddles me. Absolutely befuddles me. If you're I don't know, just one man's opinion. Here's another thing that befuddles me.
Mm-hmm.
We are now in what year? The 51st year, Judah, of the city market?
Apparently.
The 51st year of the Charlottesville city market, right? And still there is no joint venture between the Charlottesville city market and the city market that takes place at Ix Park, as you're getting those lower thirds on screen.
And that surprises you?
That doesn't surprise you?
In terms of planning, there's very little about Charlottesville that surprises me when...
Oh, this is a great tip. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is a great tip here. Jim Hingley watching the program. Is Mr. Hingley on the power ranking? Mr. Hingley is ranked. Is he on the power ranking, J-Dubs? Man, I hope Mr. Hingley's on the power ranking. I'm pretty sure we had him. Yes, he is. He's number 40 in the power polls. Can we get Mr. Hingley's photo on screen? I got bubbles coming on my text message from him. Is he on screen?
Not yet.
Let us know when Jim Hingley's on screen. He says, viewers and listeners, the downtown library is giving glasses away. The giveaway is in the children's department of the downtown library. That is great news right there. That is a fantastic update.
Do they still have glasses?
Mr. Hinchley is not,
Yeah.
this man's as legit as it gets.
I did tell some people yesterday at church that the Jefferson Madison Regional Library did have glasses, or at least they were purported to have glasses.
You gave them great advice?
I told them to make sure to call first, though.
Did you tell them to go downtown?
I mean, isn't that where the Jefferson Madison Regional Library is?
Well, there are locations all over. All the libraries are part of the Jefferson Madison Regional Library.
And you're saying
Family.
they don't all have glasses?
I'm not saying that. Mr. Hinchley is saying the downtown one has
Okay.
glasses. That's what I'm saying.
I told them to call. It's not like I didn't actually have much information. I just Googled some stuff and said, tried them.
So viewers and listeners, downtown library, giving away glasses, children's department. Thank you, Jim. And Neil Williamson echoes the fantastic point that Judah Wickhauer made. One study predicts that the eclipse could benefit the U.S. economy by nearly $1.6 billion.
Yeah.
Holly Foster, the Queen of Henrico. Let's get her photo on screen. She's fresh from a trip, Holly Foster, watching in Henrico, Virginia. We love when you watch the program, Holly. She is number 17 in the polls. She says it's a liability for the school systems if any child gets an eye injury. Henrico has early dismissal, and friends in Virginia Beach said the schools also closed early. Stacey Baker Patty watching the program. Is she on the power rankings? Stacey Baker Patty, Judah?
Let's see.
I don't believe she is.
Nope.
So we added 3 members to the family, right, today?
2.
Who do we add?
Jennifer Nunley Hux and
She's at 58, and who's 59?
Kyle Irvin.
Kyle Irvin's 59. Number 60, Stacey Baker Patty. You can see where you stack up on the rankings, iloveseville.com/viewer rankings. She said the Crozet Library is out. And she says it might be likely that all branches are out now. Mr. Hinchley, when's the last time you checked the downtown library children's section? Miss Patty is saying that the Crozet Library is out. I would still give it a whirl. I mean, we're right down the street from that.
Yeah.
Do you remember watching the eclipse when you were in school?
No.
Do not?
No.
I do.
We were on opposite sides of the United States when we were in school, so.
I was Florida and in Williamsburg. I remember watching an eclipse while I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want our fear to cripple or crush our life experiences. And today's society is so litigious in thought that reaction is to shut down altogether, as opposed to giving kids the opportunity to rise to an occasion. Jim Hinchley says, I was there an hour ago and they had a lot of glasses. I got bubbles coming in. Jim, you're making the program better today. I will bet you, Jim, you're going to have a bunch of people go over there to get these. He said it was there an hour ago, so that was at 12:31 p.m., and they had a lot of glasses left at the downtown children's section of the downtown library. Thank you, Mr. Hinchley. Logan Wells, Claylo, welcome to the broadcast. Kyle Irvin, we did determine that he was the biggest celebrity in Charlottesville. You are 100% correct. Next headline, Judah. Oh, yeah, the 51st year of the Charlottesville City Market. I want to dot the I's and cross the T's on this before our conference call in 9 minutes. I respect what Ludwig Kutner and Alan Kajin and Susan Krischel are doing at Ix Park with their farmers market. It's a fantastic farmers market. I respect what the city has done with their farmers market on Water Street. It's also a fantastic farmers market. I think we would be best served as a community if the farmers market on Water Street and the farmers market within Ix Park formed a joint venture and created a larger farmers market. a farmer's market that had more offerings and greater scale. And if that means the city has to relinquish some control and bring the farmer's market to Ix Park, where they have more grass, more shade, bathrooms, and a larger footprint for joyous shopping and joyous community support, then city should relinquish control. The location of an asphalt blacktop on Water Street is not fantastic, especially during the dog days of summer. Do a joint venture and move it to Ix and have the community benefit from it. And that's all I got to say about that. Our next headline, if you could, my friend, Judah Wickower.
There you go.
Can you read it on air?
The restaurants that are managing headwinds.
Oh, we covered that one.
Okay, you want to go to the next one?
Yes, please.
Let's see. Sugar
Geor-
Bear.
Go ahead.
Sugar Bear.
Cover that one. Opening on High Street.
Do you want to skip all the sweet treat ones?
Yeah, that was the beginning of the show.
Yunkin.
Yep, Yunkin and Casino. We'll talk about that. Georgia Gilmer, her photo on screen, please, sir. Georgia Gilmer, you're making the program better today. As is J Dubs, as is you, the viewers and listeners. Miss Gilmer is number 12 in the family. She says, and I agree with this, it seems to me the children would be safer at school rather than giving them an early release. Looking at the sun at any time and any day can damage your retina. Kids are exposed to the sun when playing sports. Ever go to catch a ball of some kind and get blinded by the sun? Right, I mean, to completely concur with you, Georgia. Completely agree. Completely agree. It's the fear of being sued that is making the schools, you fill in the blank, and I'll leave it at that. Yunkin has now dashed Richmond's hopes of a casino. I was hoping for a casino in Richmond. But after much lobbying and much politicking, that's not going to happen. I thought Richmond was a very centralized location for a casino. I thought its proximity to interstates and thoroughways would be great. But the governor said, no, Richmond, your casino is off the table. He signed a bill to remove Richmond from the list of Virginia's eligible host cities for a casino in Virginia. This legislative move to block another vote for Richmond comes about 5 months after the city voters defeated a proposal to bring a casino to the city's south side for the second time. The first time the vote was close, but voters resoundingly rejected the second effort. Delegates Betsy Carr and State Senator Lamont Bagby, both Democrats, passed out of both chambers of the Virginia General Assembly this measure, and it did not move forward. Whether we like gambling or not, and I understand people don't like gambling, gambling happens. And whether we like cannabis or not, cannabis sales happen. From my standpoint, legalize it, tax it, make it above board. People are going to gamble, and if they don't do it in Richmond, they're going to do it somewhere else. Might as well capture those tax dollars some way. Travis Hackworth, your Danville passion, your passion for Danville, you guys are doing things the right way with that Caesars. Any closing thoughts before our 145 J-Dubs? You had a couple of other tidbits you want to get to. You're right, Holly. The voters in the city turned it down twice. You're 100% right, Holly Foster. And Petersburg wants that casino. I know they do. I know they do.
I found this interesting. Apparently, the Navajo tradition is to not look at the solar eclipse at all. They believe that the solar eclipse is when the sun dies and is an intimate event between the earth, sun, and moon. And they're told to stay inside, keep still, no eating, drinking, sleeping, weaving, or any other activity. Traditionalists believe that not following this practice could lead to health problems and misfortune. That's crazy.
That's crazy. I like that. Where'd you find that?
Just Googling facts about the full eclipse.
You wanna? Why don't you sprint to the on company time here? Sprint to the. We'll close the show down. Sprint to the children's library. Get a couple of glasses. Does Liza the dog need glasses? Liza the dog should be on the power rankings. Let's add her at 61.
I'd have to hold her head up to stare at the sun to get her to look that direction.
We should look at
That
it.
would be, yeah. Well, depending on how overcast it gets this afternoon.
All right, get us a pair. Get us a pair of 2 pair of glasses, will you?
All right, if
You
they've got them.
Did a great job. The Elmer's glue of the network, Judah Wickower. Judah B. Wickower, jack of all trades. John Blair's got a follow-up question, which we'll close with. I got the 1:45 call. John, you make the program better, man. He says, to follow up on Judah's question, I'm going to ask my son, a 5th grader at Mountain View, if kids were absent today. I'm genuinely curious if parents took their kids out of school for this. He's following up in your question.
Yeah.
I would say coming off a week of spring break, not many parents are taking their kids out of school for this.
Though if they tried to save money for spring break, they may not have gone anywhere, and
Which means it's even tougher for the parents.
not tougher to take a single day off as opposed to going out of town for a week.
Oh,
It's actually a very cheap
Our
way.
children-
It's a very cheap way to have a quick vacation.
Children-
Say, hey, look, we're coming off a weekend. We're going to keep you guys out of school on Monday. We're going to get glasses.
Children
We're all
are
gonna go
more
up to the-
challenging when they stay at home than when you take them places, because the new environment of taking them places stimulates their mind and keeps them out of trouble because they're more engaged because the scenes are fresher. When, at least we have found, when our kids are staying around the house, that's when they get in trouble the most. We have a rule of thumb in our house: we got to get out of the house with our kids.
That's why you get out of the house. You go get glasses, or you've got glasses. You take the kids out for, whatever. Take them out for brunch, then go up to a mountain somewhere, Afton, up on, maybe peach orchard, apple orchard, and make a day of it.
There you go.
I don't
Make a
know.
date out of it.
Um,
Well, perfect
I
way to
have
close.
no idea.
Perfect way to close the program right there. Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller, and the I Love Seville show on a Monday. Enjoy the eclipse. Children's Library for Sunglasses. Thank you, Mr. Hingley. So long, everybody.